My name is Attorney Joseph Botello of the Botello Law Group. Our firm is located in Fall River, Massachusetts. We practice U.S. immigration law, estate planning, and personal injury law. I've been practicing for 25 years. We have a staff of 4 attorneys and 10 support staff. The specific challenges and pain points that led me to look for outsourcing staff and ultimately come to RemoteLegalStaff was the constant difficulty in finding quality staff in the United States, staff that are willing to work, staff that are willing to be trained, and staff that are ultimately actually going to stay with you. It was that huge turnover of hiring a paralegal or a lawyer, and they're only going to be there for a month, a couple of weeks before they either quit or move on to a different company. We were dealing with this situation over and over again, and ultimately I came to RemoteLegalStaff, who have essentially solved all those problems for me. So before finding RemoteLegalStaff, I did try a number of other staff options that I had found online. Some of them were just basically headhunters where they would just find you one person, or there were companies that had a number of staff on them. But with RemoteLegalStaff, what really sold me is the fact of them having my employees create basically an office manual, so they would be able to help to train the new recruits that we would be getting in the future. In the past, I had worked with other agencies for obtaining legal staff prior to getting to RemoteLegalStaff, and I was really disappointed in the whole procedure. And basically through the follow-through, dealing with the software to monitor the staff, dealing with the payment options, nothing was done seamlessly. I had to continue to reach out to them, and it was a huge hassle. But all of that was in the past. After hiring RemoteLegalStaff, they dealt with all of the problems I had with the other options right from day one. So the aspects of RemoteLegalStaff that really stand out to me is how they do the entire process for you, from finding the staff to providing you the resumes and their videos, to walking you through the interview process, to onboarding, and most importantly, they have the staff create basically an office manual which can be used when you get your next hire. The person from RemoteLegalStaff you hired will actually provide materials to actually train them on how your office procedures work. That was one of the greatest benefits I'd found from RemoteLegalStaff. So the level and qualifications of the staff I received from RemoteLegalStaff were more than I expected. I was looking for paralegals and instead actually hired people who had graduated from law school. Their qualifications were exceptional. I had many candidates to choose from, and I was able to interview with them and see how that candidate would fit. So I would say that the expertise and the experience of the candidates was very good. Most of them had either worked in the exact area of law I was hiring for, or had some type of experience that would correlate with what my firm was practicing. The interview process with RemoteLegalStaff is actually one of the best things about the company. My person handling my case, her name is Alice. She is wonderful. I would never want to lose her. She takes the reins. They have a bunch of questions that are already pre-generated that she'll walk them through, and handles most of the heavy lifting during the actual interview process, and then allows me to either ask more questions through the chat, or I can speak to her directly, and we can also coordinate prior to actually meeting the candidates on a Zoom call. We get to strategize exactly how we're going to approach this, what kind of questions I want asked, and what kind of questions I want to ask personally. The onboarding process with Remote Legal Staff was easy and painless. They essentially took care of everything for me from beginning to end and kept me informed through emails, through every step of the process, exactly what we would be doing, what I'd be facing, what I was going to be expecting, and then provide monthly updates pertaining to that candidate. There was standard to minimal amount of training required from my candidates from Remote Legal Staff. Since they already come with legal background and the candidates I chose already had experience in the fields that they were going to be working for me, and the transition of them into my law firm was relatively easy and painless. And Remote Legal Staff offered them some behind the scenes training, and my staff also working with them got them up to speed, and they were working at full capacity within 30 days. To any attorney who's stating that they just simply don't have the time to train staff, I would go with Remote Legal Staff. You'll be able to have candidates that have already worked in the fields of study or the fields of law that your particular firm deals with. My candidates already knew all the software that I was using, and the software they didn't know how to use was actually trained to them by Remote Legal Staff. So the onboarding process and the training process took little to no effort on my behalf due to the excellent candidates and the training support from Remote Legal Staff. Those lawyers out there that are still only hiring remotely, there are so many reasons why you should go with Remote Legal Staff and outsourced staff. No longer are you going to have to pay for a desk, a computer. All you need is your CRM software, a phone line for them, and basically having to deal with someone in office, having to worry about workers' compensation, having to worry about unemployment insurance payments for that staff member, having to worry about lawsuits if you were to fire them. All of those are a thing of the past. When you go with Remote Legal Staff, you no longer have to physically have the actual room to house these staff. All you need is to provide them access to the software that they will be using and the phone system that they will be using. You're no longer going to have to dedicate actual office space and pay rent. And then also the greatest benefit is you're not actually going to have to deal with live human beings and all the potential pitfalls that having staff that are located in the United States brings to your law firm. What would I would say to lawyers out there who are on the fence about the tasks that can be performed from the candidates from Remote Legal Staff is to not have any worries whatsoever. The staff that I have had, and I have multiple staff from Remote Legal Staff, after the initial phase and them getting used to exactly how we do things in the office, we were getting seamless integration into our law firm. Every task that we asked of our candidates and our employees was done flawlessly. We had no issues. If there was an issue, we would simply receive questions from them through the phone system we use. They would ask a question, then take on the task. And thus far, I've had no issues whatsoever from the staff, from Remote Legal Staff, completing tasks and job functions that I have presented to them in their work. The specific tasks and projects that the staff that I've obtained through Remote Legal Staff that they have performed is essentially almost every single task in my law firm. They're handling everything except printing out documents and having clients sign documents. They're dealing with document generation. They're dealing with correspondence with my clients. And the fact that they're offshore, all of the staff that I've received are also bilingual. So this has actually opened up my ability to service even more clients. So besides for handling paperwork, live in my office and having clients sign live in my office. The staff I've obtained from RemoteLegalStaff has essentially handled every other aspect that the staff I require to perform. The staff I've obtained from RemoteLegalStaff were very proficient in all the software that my law firm uses. I just presented RemoteLegalStaff with my CRM, the phone system, and we also use DocketWise for immigration. They were able to find and source candidates that already knew how to use these software. So the integration into my law office was seamless. One of the candidates didn't have knowledge on the phone system. They provided training of that. Another one of the candidates didn't have knowledge in using DocketWise, and they provided specific training pertaining to that particular software. So I had no issues with integrating these candidates into my law firm. The staff I obtained through RemoteLegalStaff integrated right into my law firm. They came and they made friends with everybody very, very quickly, and they became like family. Even this year, we even had them part of our Secret Santa Christmas festivities. So even though they're not located in the country, we were able to exchange gifts and actually video conference them in a Zoom call while everyone was opening the gifts. They unwrapped the gifts, even though they did wrap their own gifts, but it was still a very good experience, and they seamlessly integrated into our staff and our culture of our law firm. There are numerous cases or specific instances where the staff from RemoteLegalStaff have greatly helped my firm, thus helping my clients. When you're able to close cases faster and you're able to provide your clients better service through having more staff, you're able to serve them better and complete their cases quicker, which is what every client ultimately wants, a quick resolution to the matter you're dealing with. I would say that's one of the best benefits that I've seen with my employees from RemoteLegalStaff. So in addressing data security and confidentiality with my employees from RemoteLegalStaff, I was employing MyCase, which is our CRM, and Dropbox. Both of these softwares are able to limit access to certain types of information that I found wasn't needed for those particular staff members. And just being able to use the software I had already been using, that totally addressed all my concerns pertaining to data security and confidentiality. One of the greatest things from RemoteLegalStaff is the ongoing support, performance evaluations, and coaching that they provide to my staff that I've received through them. They're constantly updating me on their performance. I have monthly meetings with my account manager, Alice, who's wonderful. She lets me know concerns that my staff are having and what we can do to improve performance, and goes over all the metrics because they do have software that records what the staff are doing on their end, and everything put together, we get to work seamlessly with our agent at RemoteLegalStaff to follow our staff members, put into work strategies that ensure their success now and future success that helps them fully integrate and become productive members of my law firm. I would say the effect of my team's morale and overall culture at my law firm has been one of the greatest improvements I've seen when dealing with RemoteLegalStaff. My ability to take on staff members for much less money that I would have to employ staff members that were located in the United States was a game changer for me. When you're relieving your staff member from all these deadlines and all these crushing concerns from all the other clients, and give them time to breathe and put into place methods of finalizing cases, no longer having to deal with things being done last minute or on a rush type basis, was simply a game changer, not only for my firm, but also for my other staff that are situated in the United States. And just the culture of my firm has been transformed due to having the ability to take on these new employees from RemoteLegalStaff. My employees from RemoteLegalStaff compare very well with my in-house staff. Although I will say their productivity is a little bit higher due to the simple fact they're not located in my office. So they're not constantly getting bothered by other staff members who just pop into their office and want to have a little conversation, a little inter-office fun. All of that is eliminated because they're at home in front of their computer, so they're not being distracted by my other employees, which, as we all know, is something that every law firm owner has to deal with your in-house staff, because humans are social beings. So that's going to happen. That was one of the unforeseen benefits of RemoteLegalStaff employees, is that there's less time being wasted through inter-office discussions and banter that have no bearing on the productivity of your law firm. I would say one of the most advantageous benefits of working with RemoteLegalStaff is the overall cost effectiveness that they bring to your law firm. Where I could only hire, let's say, one paralegal for the cost of a paralegal from the United States, I could actually afford to have two paralegals with comparable levels of education and experience. So I would say the cost effectiveness has simply been a game changer for my law firm. I don't really feel like there's anything missing by not having my offshore staff from RemoteLegalStaff in my office. What I simply do is I delegate them tasks that do not have to rely on interactions in person with my clients. In fact, instead of having a paralegal in my office, although we do have paralegals working in staff in my office, instead of paying paralegals to interact with clients, I've instead hired a legal secretary to have that one-on-one client interaction. So essentially, aside from having documents signed by the paralegals, I really don't see any drawback in having staff from RemoteLegalStaff located offshore. My experience with dealing with offshore staff, as opposed to my expectation, has been very well received and very easy to implement. Considering all my staff before RemoteLegalStaff came into the picture all use the same software that their employees are using, and the integration, and considering I keep my office door closed the vast majority of the day, my employees from RemoteLegalStaff seem to me like they're in my building, because I communicate with them the exact same way as I communicate with all my other employees, because I don't walk around and go from office to office talking about things. I'm using VXT texting, or I'm just calling them up on their line on VXT. So in all honesty, besides when I happen to be walking around my office for something I have to do, I don't even notice my outsourced staff isn't located physically in my office, because I literally talk to them the same way I talk to all of my employees that are in-house. What I would say to lawyers who feel that managing remote staff is just too much more difficult than managing in-house staff, I would say go to RemoteLegalStaff. From what I've seen and for what I've experienced in my law firm with the multiple candidates I've received from them, is there is literally no difference in training. And in fact, the training and support that RemoteLegalStaff offers me actually makes the training of a new staff member easier than if I was finding someone who would be physically in my office in the United States. I would say the quality of communication and support provided by RemoteLegalStaff has been exceptional, from the interviewing phase to the onboarding phase to the monthly meetings to discuss their performance and training. I couldn't be happier with what I have received from Remote Legal Staff, and especially from my personal agent who handles my account. Anytime I have something that I need clarification on or an update that I want, it's simply email away and I'm usually getting a response either within a couple minutes, or the longest I've waited was a little less than an hour, because the agent that has been assigned to me works during the same time that my office is open. So I've seen no problems and had nothing but a great experience with communication and support I've received from Remote Legal Staff. I've really seen no difference in the way my clients are responding to the candidates I found from Remote Legal Staff, since the vast majority of my clients don't actually get to meet my staff in person. We do have people on staff that deal with some client interactions. But since all the communication via email and on the phone system is exactly like the in-house staff that I have currently working for me in the United States, essentially the clients that I have don't even notice. But what they do notice is I've been able to hire staff members through Remote Legal Staff that actually speak the languages of the clients that I have. So what I would say is having more bilingual staff members has been a great help, and my clientele is very much appreciative of being able to work with staff members that speak their native language. I have saved a lot of time since hiring staff from Remote Legal Staff, because having a more robust law firm, having more employees, being able to handle different operations, different tasks that foolishly in the past I had actually been doing myself, has relieved me of so much time that I'm able to focus on the things that I should be doing to not only handle the cases that I'm responsible for, but manage and grow my law firm in a way that's allowed me to scale up in a much shorter timeline than would have been possible relying on staff from the United States. Since obtaining staff from Remote Legal Staff, I've been able to take tasks and work off myself, which now gives me the ability to concentrate on what's important: growing my law firm and scaling my law firm and dealing with the management so I can put different SOPs, standard operating procedures in place. Basically, all the things that I never had time for before, now I finally have time to do those things and help grow my law firm at a much quicker pace than without my staff from Remote Legal Staff. The tangible benefits I've been able to obtain through working with Remote Legal Staff is being able to handle my clients' needs in a more time efficient and cost effective manner, which allows us to keep our rates cost effective in our areas of law, and also being able to help our clients resolve their cases in a much faster means possible than I would have been able to do without my staff from Remote Legal Staff. The main foreseeable benefit that I found in working with Remote Legal Staff is now I have a cost-effective method of scaling up my law firm, especially in situations such as U.S. immigration or estate planning, where now I'm able to handle more clients, handle them more effectively, and be able to know that as my workload increases, I have a source of new candidates that I'll be able to use as employees in my law firm, with the knowledge that they will be trained in the way my law firm operates. The return on investment I've received since I've partnered with Remote Legal Staff is beyond my expectations. Being able to have quality staff members at a much reduced price over US staff members, and also the cost savings of not having to pay unemployment insurance, pay for their office location, all of their equipment, workers' comp insurance. Being able to save all this time and money has allowed me to scale up my law firm much faster than I ever would have been able to do it without Remote Legal Staff. What I would say to any lawyer or law firm out there that's still on the fence about obtaining staff through Remote Legal Staff is simply just do it. All my apprehensions were addressed very shortly in the process and after my first hire through Remote Legal Staff. They essentially held my hand through everything. They took care of everything. They took care of all my concerns, and the way that they helped train my staff and also prepare for the training of future staff that I'll be bringing on was way more than I expected. If you're still on the fence, you got to get off that fence and just try Remote Legal Staff. I would highly recommend Remote Legal Staff for your outsourced staffing needs. They've exceeded my expectations, and what I know that they could do for your law firm will exceed your expectations. My experience with Remote Legal Staff has been nothing less than spectacular. My account manager who helps me, Alice, I can't speak more highly of her than she's more than I dreamed of. The way she has taken me from the beginning through the interview process, and then the training that she's given to my staff, however they do that on the back end, and the monthly reports and how we coordinate. I simply could never have grown my firm as fast as I have without Alice from Remote Legal Staff. What I would say from all the benefits that I've received, not only financially, but the benefits to my clients and also the benefits to my in-house staff, you should just take that plunge and reach out to Remote Legal Staff and get your first employee from them. You're going to see just how fast you'll be able to grow, how easy it is to control an outsourced employee, how fast the training process is compared to having to train them in-house, especially after you've gone through with one staff member. The next staff member, the training is cut down in half. Everything that I've experienced from them, I wish for your law firm. Mostly to be able to handle your clients' needs in a more productive and financially feasible manner. Plus, the biggest thing that I've had was my ability to scale up, bring in more clients, handle more work, and the return on investment, considering I'm able to hire 2 staff members for the price of 1 that's located in the United States, coupled with the amount of money I'm saving from not paying for their office space and their computer, and all of that has greatly affected my ability to scale my law firm in an amount of time that I never could have dreamed possible. I never could have did what I've been able to do without the help of Remote Legal Staff.